Cumming Georgia is one of the best metro Atlanta suburbs, but there are a few things about this city that we really need to talk about that I don't think is talked about enough when it comes to living in this city. So let's get right into it. First of all, something that you don't really hear much about when it comes to living in Cumming is the racial makeup or the racial breakdown and the demographics here in this city. According to a website called datausa.io, Cumming is 60% white, 10% Asian, 8% African American, and about 6% Hispanic. And so this is certainly something to think about. The racial diversity in Cumming is not quite as much as you would find in other suburbs of metro Atlanta, especially some of the maybe northern parts of Cumming are a bit less racially diverse than the southern parts of Cumming. Again, this information comes from datausa.io, but there are many websites that have very similar information about the racial diversity. What's up, y'all? My name is Victor with Atlanta Suburban Living. We put out videos every week about what it's like to live in Atlanta and the suburbs of Atlanta. Another thing that we really need to talk about when it comes to living in Cumming is just how far away it is from Atlanta. This distance from Atlanta can really cause a kind of stifling feeling, like you're not going to have a whole bunch of things to do in this city. This is more of a quiet town that is a bit country or a bit rural in certain parts. There is no public transportation in Cumming. You're certainly going to be car dependent in this city, and so it's very hard to find walkable areas in this city, like maybe around the Halcyon, which is technically in Alpharetta, but it's in Forsyth County. But right around there, around the Halcyon, you may be able to find easy places to walk to, shops and restaurants and things like that. But other than that, you're really looking at an area that is far more spread out and not so easy to walk to the shops or the grocery store or to drop your kids off at school or whatever. You're going to certainly be car dependent for all of those things in this area. And naturally, that also means that there's less community. Like if you live in a more densely populated area, it's going to be easier to find community, build relationships with your neighbors, things like that. In Cumming, it's going to be a bit more difficult. And so if you're looking for a city where you can easily build community, then Cumming might not be the right one for that. Now, it's certainly not all bad in Cumming, Georgia. There are some great parts about living here, and there are actually a lot of people moving to Cumming for other reasons besides the distance to Atlanta and the car dependent and all that stuff. There's some great things about living in this area, and one of those is just how much outdoor activities and green space and nature you find in this city. As you can imagine, there's like a direct correlation between how developed an area is and how much like green space and community you find. Like the less developed a city is, you're not going to find easy community, but you are going to find a lot of outdoor activities naturally. And so Cumming is a great example of that. You're not going to find a lot of like easy walkability, but there is a lot of outdoor things to do here. In fact, one of the biggest, if not the biggest lake in all of Georgia is nearby here in Cumming, and that's Lake Lanier. Lake Lanier is like famous here in Georgia for being one of the best lakes for boating and swimming and fishing, hiking even around the lake. There is so many things to do in and around Lake Lanier. It's really one of the highlights of living in this area. Also in and around Cumming is Sawney Mountain Preserve. You also have Mary Alice Park, which is right off of Mary Alice Park Road, and you have Central Park, which is right off of Keith Bridge Road. And so definitely lots of parks, lots of green space, lots of outdoor activities here in Cumming. Another highlight of living here is the public schools. So let's quickly talk about the public schools, but then we also need to talk about some of the downsides of living here in this city as well. You really need to have a balanced understanding of Cumming if you're thinking about moving here. So the public schools are excellent, and if you have any questions about living in Cumming or the public schools, feel free to call, text, or email me anytime. Thank you so much to everybody who has reached out. I'm always happy to help. But we have many great public schools here in Cumming. South Forsyth High School is a 9 out of 10 according to greatschools.org. West Forsyth High School is an 8 out of 10. And North Forsyth High School is also an 8 out of 10. And so in general, the public schools here in Cumming and in Forsyth County are known for being some of the best in all of Metro Atlanta. This is certainly a big part of why so many people move here. They're looking for that quiet, family-friendly, excellent public school kind of suburb. But there are, of course, some downsides to living here that we really need to continue talking about. And another one of those downsides is just how fast the home prices are rising here. While it is a popular city and many people are moving here, this is causing the home prices to increase very quickly. Right now, the average home price or the average sold price in Cumming is right around $650,000, maybe even approaching $700,000 for like a typical 4-bed, 3-bath home. And this, for many people, kind of prices people out. And so this is certainly something to think about. And then what you also have with many people moving to this city is an infrastructure that is not really keeping up with the growth. And so you have an infrastructure that was built in, I don't know, the 70s or 80s probably in most parts of Forsyth County and in Cumming, but you have so many people moving here. And so you have potholes on the roads or power lines that look like they're about to fall over. Some parts of Cumming and Forsyth probably don't have fiber internet. So you're looking at like typical, like, I don't know, 8, 10, 12 megabyte download speed for internet in many parts of this city, which I know for many people, especially if you're working from home, is like unacceptable to not have fiber internet. This is mind-blowing for many people, especially if you come from another part of the country where fiber internet is the standard. To not be able to find it in many parts of Cumming really surprises many people. Also, something that I don't think many people talk about when it comes to living in Cumming is the lack of like cultural amenities, maybe like art, like museums or theaters. You know, this is not the kind of thing that you find very often in Cumming. People typically go to another suburb for these kinds of things, so you're not really going to find it in Cumming. Or like a nightlife, things to do in the evening, again, not going to find that in Cumming. This is a city that is family friendly and like everything closes at like 8 or 9 o'clock, maybe 10 o'clock for some things, but the nightlife is not something that you're going to find in Cumming. Again, you'd have to go to a different suburb for that. And then let's not even mention the amount of traffic that you would be dealing with on Highway 400 if you are driving from Cumming south to Atlanta. The main road that you would use would be Highway 400, and this road is notorious for having some of the worst rush hour traffic in the mornings and in the evenings. And so again, in the mornings, you have people driving to Atlanta. So going south on Highway 400, this is where you see the majority of the rush hour traffic. And then in the evenings, people driving back north to the suburbs from Atlanta. So the northbound lanes on Highway 400 are where you see the rush hour traffic. And so this is one of the worst hotspots for rush hour traffic. So certainly something to think about if you're going to be working in Atlanta, then maybe Cumming is not the best place to be living. When we talk about these suburbs around Atlanta, it's super important to me to paint a balanced picture of these suburbs and what it's really like living here. No suburb is perfect. No city is perfect. There's going to be good sides and bad sides to every suburb. And I want to make sure that you know what all of those downsides are to living in Cumming. But the truth is, many people are moving here. And so for many people, it is the perfect city, in fact. So I've made an entire video about why this city is so great and why so many people are moving here and all of the upsides to living in Cumming. I don't think that Cumming is a terrible city. I don't think it's like, stay away from Cumming. I'm certainly not saying that. But it is important to have a balanced view of every suburb. So here's a video that outlines all of the great things about living in Cumming. You can check it out next. I'll see you in the next video.